How's it going, everybody? So you have a fun review today as we're finally talking Wicked. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like for the longest time now, we have been hyping up Wicked. No matter where I go, I see Wicked everywhere. All of the trailers, all the commercials on TV and social media. I go to the grocery store, I see Wicked stuff plastered everywhere. I think I've seen that Cynthia Erivo Target commercial about 500 times at this point. Essentially what I'm getting at is the marketing campaign for Wicked has been absolutely insane, so you have to imagine that it's going to be a big event. Elphaba, a misunderstood young woman because of her green skin, and Glinda, a popular girl, become friends at university in the land of Oz. After an encounter with the wonderful Wizard of Oz, their friendship reaches a crossroads. When it comes to this film, I like to think that I'm offering a somewhat unique perspective to Wicked, because I must admit, I have actually never seen the musical. Of course, I don't live under a rock. I'm very well aware of what the Wizard of Oz is, and the impact that the Wicked musical has had on pop culture. Even hearing some of the most iconic songs from the musical, but I've never actually sat down and watched the Wicked musical from start to finish. With how often it feels like we're getting musicals lately, there's always some level of nervousness each time I go into them. While I don't hate musicals whatsoever, I do enjoy a good amount of them actually. So many musicals nowadays can be very hit or miss. For every musical that I do like a whole lot, like In the Heights, ironically also from the same director, Jon M, there's always musicals that come along and kind of ruin the experience. Cats, I think, is a big one that I thought was a horrible musical. So here with Wicked, I was pretty blown away how much I love the all-around spectacle of it all. For me, at least, it feels like one of the better examples as of late, as far as a film that immerses you in all of the magic within the world. Basically, right from the beginning of the film, I was invested with the beautiful journey that Wicked explores between Glinda and Elphaba, and how the two of them form their bond with one another at university. All of the ups and downs of Glinda and Elphaba's friendship definitely had me feeling all of the different types of emotions. Most of the emotions I felt throughout their friendship were happy ones, but there's a tinge of heartbreak thrown into the mix by the conclusion that, not gonna lie, due to how much I enjoyed both of these two characters, it did have me a little bit in my feelings. A massive strength of Wicked, at least for the most part, are the visuals. Production design to bringing the world of Oz to life in this is next level. Costuming and the brilliant craftsmanship of these various sets really pop off the screen with all of the color. It's highlighted best in these sprawling, energetic musical numbers over the course of the film. To go along with the fact that a lot of the songs in Wicked I just found extremely catchy, so many different earworm type songs that I'm definitely going to be listening to once they release the soundtrack. It's a real treat how massive several of these songs feel, with a good mix of your fun, lighthearted tracks, and several other tracks in Wicked that have that show-stopping, emotional spectacle to them. I completely understand the hype now why the music of Wicked is so iconic. Personally, probably my favorite musical numbers of the entire film were Popular, What Is This Feeling, Loathing, and the most obvious one of all is Defying Gravity. Going back to the visual stylings of Wicked, occasionally the visuals do fall a bit flat with some questionable VFX work. Pretty much what I'm getting at is there's certain portions that you've seen in the trailers that were a little bit questionable looking. They look just as questionable in the film, if not more. More often than not, visually, I felt like Jon M nailed the aesthetic of the world for the big screen. So much of what made me fall in love with the world in this story definitely hinged on the two lead performances here, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, both who I enjoyed a lot before even going into the movie. Both of them play these two roles of Glinda and Elphaba to perfection. It was not hard whatsoever to love the journey we follow the two of them on, and seeing the friendship between them blossom thanks to how incredible they play off one another. The majority of the scenes that they have together, they had the best chemistry of any duo I've seen in any movie so far this year. Now, I can't speak too well to how similar the two of them are to their Broadway counterparts. I mean, I've seen clips, of course. Certainly felt like Ariana Grande in particular. From the little I have seen, there was a sense of familiarity to the character that they brought, but managing to still have their own distinctive traits to make each of these characters their own. Regardless of how similar or different they are to their Broadway counterparts, though, I loved both of them. Seeing Ariana Grande act again made me realize just how much I missed when she did act. I think a lot of us grew up watching her act in different things like Victorious, and her performance here as Glinda I felt was amazing. She's this real lightning rod of effervescence. There's this bubbly, infectious energy about her. In almost every single scene that she's in, she's chewing up the scenery. Her acting performance was spectacular, but unsurprisingly, she sounds phenomenal in all the musical numbers. The most surprising thing to me about Glinda in Wicked is the fact that she is hilarious. I laughed way more than I ever expected to with the dialogue and physicality that Glinda showcases with her humor. While I do think Ariana Grande has the best performance in Wicked, a lot of the emotional real heft of the story comes from Cynthia Erivo's performance. There's so much emotion felt throughout her performance as Elphaba that really moved me. The amount of vulnerability and intensity that Cynthia Erivo brings to this character I found to be pretty beautiful, especially with the things that we explore with her character of self-acceptance. I think stuff like that is very relatable, besides the fact that, you know, most people don't turn green. And unsurprisingly, similar to Ariana Grande, her vocals are spectacular in all of her musical numbers. When we get to the big, iconic moment everyone's been waiting for, after everything that she endures throughout the film and sings Defying Gravity, it's one of those sequences that does make you want to get up and cheer, just due to all the emotions flooding in. Outside of the two leads, I like the supporting cast too. That definitely made me enjoy the overall film experience as well. Michelle Yeoh and Jeff Goldblum in particular added some interesting flavor to the film as Madame Morrible and the Wizard of Oz. I'd be remiss not to discuss Jonathan Bailey though as Fiyero. The man just exudes way too much charm. It wasn't hard at all to understand why so many of these characters are so magnetized by him. Of course, there's some suspension of disbelief going on here because he's supposed to be like this young prince at this university, and Jonathan Bailey, while he doesn't look old by any means, but, you know, he's in his mid-30s, so I did kind of have to ignore that a little bit. Thankfully for my sake, I knew going into Wicked that this is a part one to an overarching story. The marketing isn't really addressing that much that it's a part one of part two, with part two coming out next year. According to a couple of my friends who are big Wicked fans, I talked to them about it, and apparently this first movie is act one of the musical, which to me seems kind of wild considering the movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes long. Not that I was bored or anything. I will say in the film it does pretty much signal there's still plenty of story left to tell with how the movie ends. Some people might find that frustrating, but all around by the end of it, all 2 hours and 40 minutes or so, I felt leaving pretty satisfied with what we got here. It packs in a lot of story and does a good job enriching you in these characters to make you want to see them explored deeper in part two. I'm a little bit nervous though because those same friends of mine that are big Wicked fans also said that act two of the musical is the not as good act. You know, act one ends on this very iconic musical number. I don't know necessarily why act two apparently is the worst of the two. I haven't seen the musical, but with so much good build up in part one, I just have to have wishful thinking that part two is gonna at very least be solid. Overall, I left Wicked having a pretty fun time. It's probably up there as far as one of my favorite recent musicals. You honestly do feel the magic and passion pouring off the screen, the energy and heart in these characters, the musical numbers, all of that stuff is very contagious. I can't imagine anyone leaving the theater not smiling from ear to ear, buzzing to see what comes next. Once you get a chance to check out Wicked, make sure you share your thoughts down below. What'd you think of the film? Did you like the film? Did you not like the film? If you're a fan of the musical going into this, do you think it lived up to the hype? Do you think it's a faithful adaptation? Either way, make sure you share your thoughts down below because the fun is that conversation with you guys in the comment section. Thank you guys, as always, for checking out videos. I always do appreciate it. Make sure you like on the video and also subscribe to the channel to update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. But the next time, I'll see you guys later.